Welcome back, folks, to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast. On today's show, we have Mark Higgason from Encompass AV out of Chicago. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by...
Are you asking me? It's Satco, baby.
Come on, man. They do the light thing. They do the right thing, Greg. Come on, man. Go to satco.com, satco.com, satco.com. Hey, man, we just had Brian Brandis last week on the show. Recently on the show, we released it. And, Satco's such a great company, man, in terms of, the level of humility in terms of serving distributors. If you're a distributor, man, you got to have Satco on your line card, man.
Yeah, and the product that we're talking about here today is this Blink Lux. It is style and function come together, and that's important. I think Satco does that maybe better than anyone, where they actually bring stylish fixtures. They're not just making them all the same. They're taking a functional fixture that actually serves a good purpose, and it looks nice. And you can see from this, it's it fits. It's a real slim profile fixture, surface mount. It's circle or square. Comes in 13-inch or 17-inch. It's matte black, soft white, polished nickel, brushed nickel. Give you the options. 50,000 hour life, and it mounts in the center with a little. And the light actually comes from the center and kicks outward in a decorative round fixture or square fixture. That's real thin to the ceiling. Fits a J box. A lot of good applications for this, including some at my house. Check them out.
Go to satco.com. That's satco.com, baby. We do the light thing. We do the right thing at satco.com. Of course, a longtime NAILD member, NAILD.org. Hey, man, they're going to be in Biloxi, Mississippi. In fact, I think, I know that one of their people is going to give a presentation on the future of legacy lamps. So come on down to Biloxi, Mississippi. Check out Satco. And, of course, Mark Higgason talking AV, tinkering around with it on the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast. Welcome to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast, Mark Higgason.
Thanks for having me on today.
Say hello to Greg Eric.
Hey, Greg. How are you, sir?
Good, Mark. Thanks for being on with us.
Tell us a little bit about Encompass Audio Visual, not sort of an advertorial, but what does the company actually do in 2019?
Well, we originally we were an audio company. We were building nightclubs 2 decades ago. But as technology morphed, really our jobs became several jobs, and ultimately 20 years later, we're an IoT company. Essentially, we do structured cabling, audiovisual, surveillance, and now lighting.
And is that why is it that lighting became a part of that? What was the driving force of encompassing LED or encompassing lighting into their product offering?
Well, a lot of technologies have become network technologies, and originally audio became a network-based technology from a traditional analog infrastructure to nowadays really 100% digital. The same thing happened with video. The same thing happened with surveillance. And now with the increase in power allowance due to the 802.3 BT standard, we have a whole lot more of DC power available on the network, and a whole new world of devices that could be powered that previously the supply simply wasn't there. We can power a really wide array of devices now.
So hang on, what's the 802.3b standard? What the heck is that? I have no idea. You know what that is, Greg?
No, that was going to be my question.
Yeah,
Lay it down.
What's the 16122? What's the 162.562 standard?
I apologize. I study a lot of this stuff, so it becomes a second nature to me. But what we're talking about is power over Ethernet. And really what that is utilizing your data network to provide DC power on each port. The original usage for this technology was VoIP phones, voice over IP. They wanted to be able to power these phones with one cable and utilize the data. So they energized one pair of the communication cabling. Standard communication cabling is an 8-wire system divided up into 4 2-pair systems. So they just elected to use an unused pair to send power to power the phone itself. Over the years, they started increasing that power allotment to 15 watts, then 30 watts. And then Cisco had a proprietary 60-watt system, which is actually what we experiment here in our office with. We have 3 different manufacturers of lighting equipment that are run on what's called Cisco's UPOE standard, and that's a 60-watt. But what I spoke of earlier, the 802.3 BT standard, or it's easier, you could refer to it simply as Type 4, allows up to 95 watts over communication cabling. And that's enough to do a television. It's enough to power a computer, to power video conferencing, and to even power what you would term high bay LED lighting.
Some, not all.
Not all.
Yeah. What, like, if you're going to take a light fixture, what wattage are your light fixtures that you're commonly seeing? Is it half of those watts, the 95 watts that you can allow for?
The 72 watts is really what they would rate the light for, but you can run multiple instances of this cabling. So if you had a multi-element, if you had a really high power multi-element, you could power each LED segment with a leg of the PoE power. And now these network switches, it would be impractical to have them all like in a traditional IT room. So the high power generation of switches is built to be in the space, to live in the plenum, to be local to a room. A great example of this technology in use right now is the Sinclair Hotel in Fort Worth. It's a 100-year-old building, and they just went through, and it's the world's first PoE powered hotel. Each room has a powered switch that runs all of the lighting and all of the IoT infrastructure.
So why would anyone want to do this? Like what? Well, it sounds good. It's okay. So you got 95 watts. I mean, and growing. Like maybe it's going to do. Like I'm a skeptic, bro. Like you got 95 watts. That ain't a lot of power, Mark. I mean, and you got this PoE cable. You're not bringing AC there, okay? And you're bringing in 95 watts on a port. Most high bay LEDs are going to be more than 95 watts. And I'm probably pretty sure when they say 95 watts, you can't be 95 watts. You have to be 80% of 95 watts or something like that, right? It can't be 95.
I believe that's where the 72 watt figure comes in because so they have to allow for.
Right. So 72 watts LED is not a high bay. But 95 watts is kind of on the borderland, wouldn't you say, Greg, of high bay?
Yeah, but I think you're talking in a hotel room. So
no, but what I'm saying is, like, what's the business case? What's the business case? Why would anyone do this?
Well, we can go back to the high bay fixture.
Go to the hotel. Use the hotel.
Okay. So the biggest advantage of this, beyond certain efficiencies, is it's on. Each light becomes a sensor. I have lights that can take a room temperature, that can provide occupancy data. It becomes much more than simply a light. It can be a carrier for any kind of sensor. Imagine an office space where you have a cubicle farm and you have 2x2 lights over each office. You could give individual control over just that lighting fixture to each member of the office if you so chose. You have unlimited control options all of a sudden. And the opportunity to bring the future through your lighting, through the use of sensors, daylight harvesting, auto on and off, occupancy counting. One example that they use for the hotel with the occupancy counting is maid services. If a room hasn't been used, there's no point in scheduling a cleaning. And if you look at this at scale, a multi-level skyscraper, we're talking thousands of lights here. So if a light doesn't need to be on, it's not on. And you can really scale the control of this down to the individual fixture.
So if you go in this hotel room again, I'm going to just, for my own purpose, I need to break it down. So you have a few light fixtures, maybe you have 5, and each one uses 30 watts. Do you have one line going to each fixture, or do you combine lines into into two of them to get up to that 72 watts, or is that not? Am I not thinking about it the right way?
Yeah, there's a couple ways that you could do this where you could parallel, lower wattage lightings off of one leg. We're still, we only have a power bank to deal with, so we still have to pay attention to that. But some of these LED fixtures are very low wattage, and you can of course use an entire string from a single power port.
But how did you do it in this hotel that was 100 years old? How can you get all this wiring up? And I assume, is it sheetrock ceilings? What were they? They're not laying.
Well, this isn't my project. I can't claim to that. I haven't been there. Now, Texas is a very different region from the region I work in. I work in the Chicagoland area, and we have very strict electrical codes that apply to low voltage lighting and any low voltage system also. Texas is very different standards wise, and low voltage cabling has very few restrictions as opposed to high voltage cabling. So I don't really have a great answer.
Yeah. But how they new construction, obviously, it makes sense for you guys. I'm thinking of existing buildings. Yeah, how do you do it?
I don't know if it makes sense in new construction. I'm not convinced by that. I think I think what you're talking, like anyone that does this has to be aware that they are a very early adopter. Now, you tell me, Mark, you're talking about information. When you said, I can tell you occupancy. The maids clean the room things. I think they know which rooms need to be cleaned and which ones they don't. I don't see a huge productivity improvement if they're reminded again that they didn't rent out hotel room 301 last night. I think they know that already. I don't see a huge payback there. Who wants this information, and is it even legal to gather it?
Well, there currently aren't legal restrictions about gathering this. I think the best case usage is currently a 2017 building in Amsterdam called The Edge. They use a concept called hot desking. So an employee isn't attached to a permanent desk station. When they show up, they're assigned a desk station via their smart device. So they will fill up one floor at a time in this building. So they'll have entire floors that are completely off, and if they're not utilized. I would encourage you guys to possibly check out the Edge in Amsterdam. Their website's pretty informative, and they have a number of technologies beyond PoE lighting, but it is an excellent case usage of it.
Yeah, but the Edge is like some sort of concept. So it's some sort of demonstrative building that was probably paid for by the government of the Netherlands to see if they could develop this technology. Was it a private for-profit corporation that decided to build the Edge, or was it like a partnership? Was it Phil? Okay, well, so it's
I believe it's a Philips project. Yeah,
right.
So the lighting companies are all on board. Well, the lighting manufacturers have all produced lines. If you look at manufacturers such as Philips, H.E. Williams, Hubble, they're all producing PoE lighting. This is backed up by Cisco. They've produced a line of high power switches. This was originally started by a company called Redwood. I believe this is a 2012 project. Their systems used proprietary cabling, and it wasn't practical. Ultimately, the program was canceled. I was a skeptic on this too. I was not a lighting expert coming into this. I had heard about the technology, and I decided I had to see this for myself. We had to install it here. We had to live under this. We had to prove that this made sense. So I've looked for holes in this overall, and we haven't really found them. I'm using three different systems.
I got to show you something. Scott, bring me that tube that's in the corner there. Okay. So I also own an electrical contracting company. I know the Electrical Safety Authority in Ontario is taking a really hard look at these PoE systems right now. And there's reasons for it. And this is an AC system, right? But there's a LED tube that basically blew itself out there, right? Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Right. So what type of issues should we expect from PoE like this? Like where are the electrical problems going to happen? And I think that's what the Electrical Safety Authority is concerned with. And I think there's a lot of people out there. It's like, oh, PoE is great. I think it just means we don't know enough about PoE, actually. We don't know enough about it. So, for example, when you're doing AC in a AC power in a drop ceiling, you got to use armor-coated cable, BX cable, right? PoE is just...
Well, in my region, it's EMT.
You can use BX cable in your region too, for sure. BX is flexible conduit. It's not rigid. That's the only difference.
Yeah. You're limited to a 6-foot length.
Okay.
But everything else is
right. But PoE,
and that's what's different about my region.
PoE, you have this plastic coated cabling everywhere.
Yes, sir.
Right. And is that really safe, or is it just new?
Well, there's plenum cable. So if we're worried about like burn conditions, or if this is a fire safety issue, that's addressed by the plenum jacket of cabling. But ultimately, this is low voltage. This is, considerably less dangerous than AC infrastructure. Now, there's a couple concerns when you remove cabling from a live powered port. Of course, there's an arcing condition that could damage the connector. But the new addition of connectors specifically to power devices on the conductor that's meant to arc over and over again and never interfere with connectivity.
So what are some examples of projects you guys have done with PoE lighting?
Well, very few. It's my region is very slow to adapt it. It's currently it's a lot more popular on the East Coast. It's very popular in what they call the Silicon Prairie here now, Des Moines. Texas, it's popular, but my region in particular, it's not very common. Only a couple projects here have started.
You need to move.
So real. Well, this is not our primary business, but this is a future business that I definitely want to be part of, and the entire IoT infrastructure falls into our domain now. So we do have partners. I'm not a lighting designer. That's handled by our partners at Archibald and Meeks. They're our distributor for all of our brands. And I don't want to say that I'm an expert in your field at all. I'm a communications and ICT expert.
See, what I'm trying to get down, because we've done a couple podcasts on PoE. We did some stuff on low voltage direct current, the value of that, and we're just not. I don't know. I'm going to speak for myself. I'm just not sold on it. I think it's a cool thing. I think but I think it's going to be very niche, whatever that. However you.
Well, you're not at all alone. This has received a lot of resistance. We're dealing with something that's worked fine for 100 years.
Yeah.
So of course,
there's a massive base of infrastructure that's built out already for it.
Absolutely. And this doesn't always make sense in a retrofit condition, but for new
I would say it never makes sense in a retrofit condition. Never. If the interest is getting your money back on a payback, I would say that PoE never makes sense. Now, what I'm interested in is in your thing here, you said artificial intelligence, power of Ethernet, and the Internet of Things. Okay. So when you're talking about that, usually when people are talking about that, they're talking about some space down the road when the non-energy benefits of lighting start to exceed the energy benefits in the cost-benefit analysis, right? Maybe you can do some circadian rhythm stuff with it. Maybe you can, do this other stuff. Maybe you can gather information that you wouldn't otherwise gather. What is it that you have those three things here? The ultimate lighting and ambient experience to some of Chicago's largest names. What is the ultimate lighting and ambient experience? What is that? And why is PoE, why do you suggest that PoE is at the heart of it?
Well, really, this plays into the wellness concept, which is really becoming a force in office technology. We're stuck here in offices. Not everyone can work from home, so there's really no escaping it. So we're trying to make this as pleasant and productive as an environment as possible. Now, there's plenty of studies out there that indicate lighting temperature and intensity can really affect concentration. One of my favorite studies of the usage of this is in elderly care, where they had an average of 5 falls per month. They installed PoE
Everybody
lighting.
references that study. I got to get a copy of this study. This elderly care study about the falls. Someone's got to send this one to me, because I've heard about this on 5 different occasions now. Somebody's told me about this elderly care study that went down. You know what, man? I don't know okay, maybe that if you change the color temperature, elderly people, has it been replicated? I mean, is it double blind? Or is it just an anecdotal study? I need to see some more information on that one.
Sure,
there's absolutely no
proof.
There's no proof that you can affect wellness with lighting. We know that we can hurt people. That's for sure. We know that bad lighting hurts. But I've interviewed some of the top scientists in the world, and none of them will definitively say, at this point, from what I've heard, except Adam Lillian. Was it Adam Lillian from UL, Greg?
Yeah. Yep.
He said that natural light is great from the sun. That's great. But artificial light, or electric light, I don't think there's any evidence at all that you can create positive outcomes. There is evidence that you can create negative outcomes, but there's no evidence that you can create positive outcomes unless you can offer me something other than that elderly people study, which I have yet to see.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't have any studies in front of me. But first of all, you're right to demand these things. We came into this as skeptics also, and we wanted to live under this. We wanted to put holes in this. What if it made people sick or upset their stomach? Our original AC lighting remained. We wanted to be able to compare the two. And after a year and a half, it's vastly preferred. Little things. In a traditional lighting system, you turn it on, it goes to 100% automatically. I'm able to control the ramp up time. So I walk in and gently the lights just kind of orchestrate themselves as I walk in. It's very pleasant. I haven't touched a light switch in here in quite some time. We had to see it to believe it also. And that's why I haven't tagged up with one particular manufacturer either. We have 3 different running in here. And we had to see this stuff too. I have a meter. We monitor the electrical panel on the PoE powered side, and we're able to, in real time, look at the actual draw. I don't expect you to just believe me from studies. I invite people here to see the lighting, to take a look at what kind of power we're actually using, and to interface with it themselves. I mean, lighting is a seeing is believing kind of thing. And I don't expect you to just believe it from a conversation or a particular study.
Yeah, I think what from my perspective, what PoE offers, the potential, not the actual at this point, the potential of PoE in the lighting world and the DC and the IoT and all this kind of stuff, is the ability to add an enormous depth to the control of the lighting system, like granular level control, right? I think you would never be able to accomplish that with AC, no matter how hard you tried.
It would be incredibly complicated. And you're exactly right. Getting granular control over individual lights, or possibly even the individual LEDs. So imagine a situation where the fire alarm would go off in a building. The power's cut. Your PoE lighting can immediately go to battery backup and provide an emergency plan. It could strobe only the LED lights towards exits. That's a capability that could never happen in a traditionally, AC lighting situation.
Yeah, I mean, but I see the question for me, Mark, is not whether or not PoE has this granular depth, is whether or not anybody cares. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a sense that, you have this great potentiality of something. And it's like this, wow, we could think of a million different ways that this technology might work. And then you go to the market and say, spend money on this. And you can't find anyone to spend any money on it, right? I'm not saying that you don't have any projects in the pipeline. I'm not saying that's not going to happen. I'm a skeptic. I'm not a believer in PoE yet. I don't think it's the answer. That's why I'm challenging you pretty hard on it here, right? I don't know if you noticed.
No, I really appreciate this because I really the only kind of pushback I see on this level is from electrical contractors, which happen to be. But this is great. I'm not an expert in your field. Also, I appreciate any kind of pushback. The way that I originally started researching this was on the against it side, and the biggest argument originally was IT guys complaining that this was going to overload their infrastructure and they were being short-sighted about how it would be powered and how much power was available. But all of those concerns were alleviated through different techniques for PoE. It's going to take a lot of convincing still. This is not going to happen tomorrow, but this is the way that the future is going. I have so many technologies here that, oh no. I'll put my money where my mouth is here. I have so many technologies currently that rely on PoE power instead of traditional AC infrastructure. One of my favorite ones that's kind of boring is a wall clock. So it no longer has to be timed. It doesn't have to be part of a mechanical system or a radio system or piped into a wall with conduit. It's simply on a Cat6 cable and it gets timed for my network. So it's always on time.
So it's not a clock. It's just a display.
No, it's a clock.
No, it's not a clock. If it doesn't keep the time, it's not a clock. It's a display of the time from your PoE system.
Okay, it's an analog mechanical display timed.
Thanks for defining that.
Mark.
Yeah. Sure.
Listen, Mark, it's been fun. I love the PoE prophets that are out there. You're one of them. I'm not heeding your voice. You're going to have to hold that prophet staff up and turn it into a snake for me first. Because
I'm not going to declare any kind of victory yet.
Yeah,
so I think we have a lot for this.
Yeah. So, I enjoyed speaking with you. And I think we're just going to have to say that we'll see, but I wish you all the best and good luck to you.
Well, I hope maybe in the future we can have another conversation.
Yeah, you know what? I'd love to. I'd love to do a round table of PoE experts and see if they can gang up on me.
I've got just the guy for you, Mr. Bob Allen with the Seaman Corporation of the United States. So
let's do it.
Bring him on. You can set that up.
All right, man. Hey, thank you for coming on, Mark. And I really like your demeanor and the way you've carried yourself. Encompass Audio Visual out of Chicago. That's been Mark Higgason. Thanks for being a guest on the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
They do the light thing. They do the right thing, man. That's satco.com. Go to satco.com, baby. Satco.com, Greg.
Always coming out with new products, innovative products, stylish products, and that's what they have here with this.
Stylish is right. You know what? That's like a side swipe from Satco. It's like a. You ever watch MMA and they get that low leg kick?
It's like a leg sweep.
Yeah, it's like Satco's got all the bulbs, and then they hit you with the low leg kick with these beautiful fixtures. Dude.
Yeah,
it's like boom. Right. It's like wow, where'd you come with that up? So hot.
We're gonna do everything for you. How about that? We'll do it all. And I try to put my own spin on this, but they write it the best. It says elegant and functionally designed. The center hub houses the driver, the LED light source, and secures a fixture to the ceiling while providing a decorative finished cover for a truly polished look from a truly polished company. Check out Satco.
Go to satco.com, baby. That's satco.com. They do the light thing. They do the right thing. We do the light thing. We do the right thing. However you want to say it, man. It is what it is. Check them out. And they're a great nailed member. Go to neild.org. Come on, man. We're going to be in Biloxi, Mississippi. Not too late to sign up. 19th to 23rd at the Pearl in Biloxi. That's the Scarlet Pearl, not the Black Pearl, but we're calling it the Pearl. So come on down to the Pearl, boy, girl, whoever you are. And then, of course, Greg, thanks to Mark Higgason for coming on the show, the AV Tinkerer.
Yeah, good discussion. Some interesting to see another kind of field getting involved in lighting now. He was more AV, but now he's getting involved in lighting because he sees a potential seam there with the PoE.
Ooh. All you out listening out there, sticking around till the end here, thank you. And we're always grateful for you guys. We'd love to meet you. So come on down to Biloxi, Mississippi.
Written on the rectory wall, there's a sign there for all. You are lost, Lord is there to find you.